Hi from Toronto. My name is John Keogh, and welcome to a new 10 by 10 series. In these 10 by 10 series, I speak with 10 experts for 10 minutes on a particular topic. The topic for this series is opportunism in the food industry, or you might also look at it as food crime, food fraud, and various other aspects of shenanigans in the food industry. I will speak with ex-police officers who are dealing with food fraud around the world. I'll talk with academics, with industry leaders, and I'm hoping to get a major government official in as well. But today I'm delighted to have with me the author of a new book, Austin Frerick. Austin, you're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Austin, the 10 minutes goes very, very quickly. So let's start straight away with who is Austin?
Yeah, so I'm an agriculture and antitrust expert at Yale University. My new book is called Barons: Money, Power, and the Corruption of America's Food Industry. And in my book, I profile 7 different robber barons in the food system.
Wow, that's interesting. So what was your inspiration behind the book? And can you unpack it a little bit more and let us know, like, first your inspiration and then what's the book all about?
Yeah, so this whole thing came from, I'm not joking, a dive bar conversation in Des Moines, Iowa, where someone told me the largest political donor in Iowa is a hog baron. One man writes a $300,000 check to the governor. I thought that was really interesting. But then what shocked my mind was hearing that he has a home down in Florida and he has a private jet with the words "when pigs fly" on it, allegedly. And I just thought that's incredible copy, but also that's such a powerful symbol for where we are now, that the largest political donor now is a hog baron with his own private jet.
Wow. And so if you unpack the book a little bit more, tell us about what is the book about? You have, is it 7 barons in total in the book?
Yeah, so 7 different barons, and I'm using the barons as narrative vehicles to talk about bigger things in the food system.
Yeah.
So, for example, like I have a berry baron, Driscoll's. Driscoll sells 1 in 3 barons, 1 in 3 berries, but they don't grow a single berry. They took the Nike model production where it's really in the agriculture derived from chicken or sharecropping, where they own the IP of the berry, but they contract out the production of berries. And to me, this is part of a bigger story in America where a lot of the produce production supply chains have moved offshore. We can basically squeeze labor and abuse, evade environmental protections.
Gotcha. So in your research for these books, what kind of work did you have to do? Did you go conduct interviews, or was it desk research, field research?
A little bit of all the above, which I kind of love. I think that's the best. There's only so much you can gain from looking at a computer screen. I did tons of conversations with people. My experience tends to be journalists know the most, and also just people in the industry. Most of these barons became barons because they're willing to cross ethical lines other people weren't willing to cross, and so they're bad actors. So a lot of people in the industry aren't big fans of them. So they'll tell you all the kind of, they'll tell you the dirt. And also, you just got to see this stuff. There's something about seeing. I can study a dairy baron. My dairy baron does, is part of a 35,000 cow operation northwest Indiana, created this brand called Fairlife, which is both in America and Canada now. And you can read about that, but there's something about seeing things firsthand that you just really internalize, where this facility produces as much manure as the city of Austin, Texas, because dairy cows defecate like 60 pounds a day.
Wow, that's quite significant. So you have dairy covered, you have the hog industry. What other sectors have you looked at?
Yes, my other barons are one's grain baron. That's the Cargill family. They do 1/4 of the world's global grain trade. They are the largest private company in America. They're bigger than the Koch brothers. I start comparing them to Standard Oil because they own the middle. They're not consumer facing, but I conclude that chapter by arguing they're the closest thing we have to the 19th century British Empire. Because the grain, Sun never sets on the Cargill grain empire. My other barons there's a coffee baron. It's a secret German family that entered the American coffee market in 2012. They rolled up coffee. They bought a bunch of brands. They now sell more than Starbucks. They own companies like Pret a Manger, Krispy Kreme, Panera, those Keurig cups, Brugger's bagels, Einstein bagels, just a bunch. I use that chapter to talk about the bigger stuff on monopoly. I also have a slaughtering baron, this closest thing we have to a criminal organization in modern corporate America, JBS. They're the largest meat company the world's ever seen. I kind of tell that story. And then my final baron is Walmart. And they're my grocery baron, where they sell 1 in 3 groceries in America, and to me, Walmart's like the king of the kings.
Gotcha. Oh, that's fascinating. I'm sure you probably spend a lot of time doing your research and validating some key points in your materials, right?
Oh, totally. And like honestly, a lot of turns out I made my husband go on a lot of vacations to these areas too, because for example, Walmart is in red states in America is putting healthcare clinics into its stores. Walmart's goal now is basically capture every dollar of America's underclass.
Mm.
So all these reds, so you can go in there, pay cash, get your teeth cleaned at Walmart, dentist, all that. Sorry, checkups. They're testing out veterinary clinics. They have banks inside them, essentially, tires, pharmacy, you name it. And you just realize that the whole chapter is really about Walmart and Amazon have been at war for the last 5 years, and it's been centered in grocery. And it's kind of like Godzilla and Mothra fighting, where sure, these two giants are fighting and it's kind of fun to watch, but they're destroying everything underneath it.
Gotcha. So your background is in agriculture. Was it agricultural economics and antitrust?
More antitrust. And I actually kind of fell
Antitrust.
into it. I was a tax economist at the US Department of Treasury 5, 10 years ago. And I met this young woman. I wrote a paper on the growth of in econ, they call it super rent, but it's like the growth of monopoly level profits in the tax code. I wrote this paper and I couldn't understand why you're seeing monopoly level profits in agriculture. Reach out to this young woman who wrote a paper on chicken monopolies. This young woman was Lena Khan. Lena Khan now is the FTC commissioner. She's the young woman leading the antitrust revolution in America, and she's bringing all the big tech antitrust cases right now. So that's kind of how I fell into it. But I grew up in Iowa. I mean, I talked about in my book how my mom worked at a coffee shop, how that shaped me, or she owned a coffee shop, working with my grandpa out in the country, and just kind of how where I come from, this really shaped how I looked at the food system.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, great background to have for sure. Now, from the antitrust side, I believe was it back in the early 1890s that the US and Canada, I think within 1 year, came out with their antitrust regulations way back, right?
Yeah, actually, to predate that, the state of Iowa was the first place to have antitrust laws anywhere in the world.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
That's amazing.
that's like I joke to someone, there's an undercurrent where a lot of antitrust reformers come out of Iowa.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe at some point you need to reflect then on Canada, because Canada, had, I think 1891 or something like that, that they came out with their first antitrust. But nowadays in Canada, you have supply management, of course, with dairy and
Yep.
Poultry, and I'm sure you know that from the election cycles in the U.S. It's been a frustration for many candidates over the years. So, but Canada is holding on to that, and I believe some have looked at that and said, we have an antitrust, yet we have a government-sponsored pricing cartel where, allegedly a farmer doesn't have to get out of bed in the morning. So maybe your second book could be on Canada.
That's a really fascinating thing you brought up is dairy, because the current Secretary of Agriculture under Biden was a dairy lobbyist in between. He was Secretary under Obama, and his whole job was to gut your system, to gut the Canadian system, because America overproduces dairy. The system is designed to do that. The problem is we have too much ice cream, and so his goal was to gut your system so we could flood your markets with cheap dairy. Because even though there's critiques of the system, agriculture is really, really hard because you have to strike the balance of producing enough, but you don't want to glut markets. That's how things like the Dust Bowl happen. You just destroy environments if you overproduce. And America is going down this massive overproduction model that's just clearly contributing to its obesity crisis. And you're actually seeing a really fascinating trade disputes, not only with the dairy stuff in Canada, but Mexico's pretty much, the whole corn stuff between America and Mexico right now is super fascinating, where we basically dump our surplus corn on them. And it's hard not to talk about this migrant crisis or this massive migration in the last 2 decades and not realize those two are connected.
Yeah, fascinating topic. So we have about 2 minutes left. So what are the key revelations in your books? Some of the top revelations, and why should people buy your book?
Yeah, I think why people should buy my book is, number one in 10 people do this for a living. This book is it's a combination of both. Here's where things are. Let's not romanticize the past. Let's have an honest conversation over the fact that things are so ridiculous. We have a dairy baron. But also, I think what people crave right now, when I really try to focus on my ending, is where do we go from here? Like what the system could be. I joke to people like Iowa should be the Italy of North America, has some of the best soil. But I think that aspiration, that hope is what people want. And I think with climate change, we really need to rethink a lot of these supply chains in the food production, because right now, like getting your beef in the Amazon rainforest, I mean, that's not sustainable. And cars are moving to EVs, that's going to break the ethanol market. So it's to me, it's the positiveness of what it could be. I think it's what people are connecting with.
Gotcha. Can you show us a copy of your book again?
Yeah. So here's my book with my gold fork. I love that gold fork.
Oh, wonderful. And when is it available, Austin?
It is being published March 26th on a Tuesday, but you can pre-order it now at your local booksellers or any major retailers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Some parting comments from you?
No, I would love to hear from people what they think of the Barrens. If there's anything I should look into more, any other Barrens I should do. I always, from my talks and giving agriculture talks, people come up to me afterwards, tell me you should look at this potato Barren or you should look at this egg Barren. So I always enjoy hearing those stories.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Folks, there you go. There you have it, all the way from US, Ohio. Austin Frerick. Austin, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us, and all the best with the launch of the book. I'm sure you're going to be busy with a lot of road trips and book signings over the coming period. So thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you.